not all knows this, but I had a lot of trauma growing up. I was born too early, around 7 weeks. And I was born with, I don't know if it's the right word in English, but free sinus knot. Okay. Everybody, you have one. I had free. What it does, it helps the heart to beat. But when you have free, so when I even just got happy, I got a heart attack.
So for us, development trauma is because you were so busy to defend yourself from a struggle, you didn't learn something. So development trauma is a lack of teaching. So
Lisbeth always said, listen, if you truly want to change, you have to learn to love your defense.
Yeah.
You have to learn to honor it. It has saved you. It's one of the reasons you are here. Of course, it's not so nice in this context, but you know what? We can learn now with this beautiful map of the psychological function, ego function, character structure. You have a map now. You have a key to learn when to use your defense and when not to use it.
Yes.
So in that way, you become such a captain for your own ship.
So healthy means you have many options and you can choose. So we can define healthy is a person that is aware of their dilemmas and have a choice. Trauma is when you don't have a choice.
And then his defense trigger my defense. and then we can hate each other.
Then we call this life.
yeah, but then I start to learn that. And you know what? And read that. And then I met him in a different way. And, we end up being friends. In many ways, I always tell people when you learn bodynamic, you're going to be a way more rich person.
I'm curious, from your practical experience, how do you see it feeling or looking in people's bodies?
Well, it depends of the context. And I used to say manipulation is naive, is innocent. It's like a knife. I have a knife, I can open a bread and make a sandwich, or I can kill you. So knowledge is always a power.
Hi guys, and welcome to a new episode. We're talking in English today because we again have the opportunity and honor to have some international trainers and guests today. We're going to talk about the body and specifically how the body can represent such an amazing resource when it comes to our development. We're talking about Bodynamic, a method rooted in using the body as a tool and as a partner in our own development. Because we wanted to talk to the people who would be most able to offer us the information that's needed for us to understand what Bodynamic is and how it can provide us resources for our own development. I have here with me Hadi Marcher and Mar Barbosa. Just a few words about them before we begin. Hadi is the third generation in the Bodynamic lineage, following his grandmother Lisbeth, the founder of the system, and his mother Dite. Since May of 2019, he has been the CEO of Bodynamic International, working to make the method more known and applied over the world. His dream is that Bodynamic will find its way to many different areas of life, touching people far beyond psychotherapy. The family legacy forms the soul of Bodynamic. Lisbeth's pioneering courage to unite the body and the mind, and Dite's relational depth that turned mutual connection and dignity into lived practice. On the other hand, Mar Barbosa has a master's degree in clinical and health psychology, a bachelor's in psychology, and a bachelor in human resources, with an associate in training management. She has more than 13 years of experience in clinical practice. She is a Bodynamic educational therapist and part of the international trainer team of Bodynamic International. She is also the founder and CEO of Somatic School of Psychotherapies and the official representative in Portugal for Somatic Experiencing. So, Hadi, you are a third-generation Bodynamic practitioner. It's a legacy. How did it not only how does it feel right now to be a practitioner with it being learned from your mom and your grandma? I'm curious how it felt throughout your entire life to be maybe embedded in this practice. How did you learn it even before you became specialized?
And for me, it's a very, very big question you're giving me right now, because there's a big history in Bodynamic. Mm-hmm. It was very unique because, the history was so great in Bodynamic. There was many colleagues that they were working with. There was not only my grandmother and mom There was many other co-founders, many other people that worked in Bodynamic that later also became very famous in somatic psychology and body psychotherapy that I'm also still in contact with today. So for me, it was a great privilege, very unique. Also, sometimes I think they were a bit crazy, those people, to be honest. And it also teach me something because, I grew up with so many great teachers, not only my mom and my mother, many others. And I also saw the human because I saw how a lot of them looked at them like, oh, they are great teachers. But I also saw the human part. And in that way, also saw, they're also just human and they do a lot of mistakes also. And I saw the importance that you continue to develop. You continue having close people around you that can help you so you don't do the same mistakes and you still grow. And it's one of the reasons I still go in therapy and I have my own inner circle of close friends, like Mar was over here. Some always also support me and show me different ways to be in this world. Then I think it actually also saved me in many ways because not all knows this, but I had a lot of trauma growing up. I was born too early, around 7 weeks. And I was born with, I don't know if it's the right word in English, but free sinus knot. Okay. Everybody, you have one. I had free. What it does, it helps the heart to beat. But when you have free, so when I even just got happy, I got a heart attack. And I've been reading my papers. I don't remember that, but in the doctor's papers, because I have a lot, they even write sometime I had 6 heart attacks a day. So from I was 0 to 9, I think around 600-700 heart attacks. And it's not like 180 per minute. We speak about 250, and I think the max was 319 per minute. So many insane heart attacks. And luckily, only 3 times I got clinical death. But so I grew up with that. Mm-hmm. And even when I got happy and I was playing football, suddenly I could fall down with a heart attack. Then later, I'm dyslexic like my grandmother and my mother. When I started in school, I was not so good in school. And I went to all kind of specialists, psychologists, psychiatric. And they ended up saying, okay, you have ADHD. They called it DAMP in Danish in the old days, and Asperger. So also some autism. And I remember, when you're a little bit Asperger and you have hard time to sometimes even sense yourself and also read other people, you can feel so alone. So very, very often I could come in this black hole and I could stay there for 3 days. Luckily, my family was also pressing. So from 1st grade to 7th grade, I even had a pedagogue called Thomas, 21 hours a week for 7 years. And I was in a normal private school, but even the school wanted to say, listen, Hadi is not learning to read that good. I think it's better he come to a special school with other ADHD and Asperger and you name it. And my mom said, listen, does he start to have friends? And they say, yeah, okay. So the things what we are learning him is it's starting and the other things can come later. And I remember my grandmother and my mother say, okay, maybe you don't know right now all the skills, how to be, not say whole human being, but how to be with other people without, if you met me as 8 years old, I would like this. Coming like, I would not even sense you. And I'll be so hungry for it. Huh? And they say, don't worry, we can learn this from the body. There's some muscle we use to sense our boundaries, some muscle for our centering. And they did that. So when I was 14, 15, even in my own city, I became one of the most popular kids. I started to be connected with other people. So for me, it was amazing to have that switch. And if you ever come to Denmark, I can bring you to my school. They even cried. They didn't expect that. Huh? I was supposed to be in early pension.
Mm. Did you feel it, or did you learn it as a practice? I need to connect with other people.
But I wanted to connect. Mm-hmm. One thing I always hated when I was small. They were always saying in the 90s that, when you're autistic or you're Asperger, they don't have emotion, they don't have empathy. It's bullshit. I promise you. Asperger's, they have so much emotions and empathy, so they get overwhelmed. And in that way, and that's what they helped me with, Lisbeth did. But also my father. My father is not a therapist, but he was also, I also want to credit him. He was a great help also. In many, many, many sense. But they had the patience and they had the way to learn and they had the tools. So it was not only here. I learned it from the body to the mind. And that was the reason that when I was 14, I was like, okay, I would choose this direction.
Okay, so that's the root of your decision.
That's the root of the decision. And I took the decision in California when I was 14 at another workshop called Human Element. That's not Bodynamic. It's one of my mother's friends' system.
Okay.
Over there. So that's the main why I chose this way. For me, it's a unique and an amazing psychotherapy, I must say. As I have lived and learned it and continue learning new things.
Mm-hmm. That's another thing I was curious about. Given how you started and how it felt for you even from the beginning, how do you feel that shaped you as the professional you are today in terms of maybe how you interact with other people or see their experiences?
It gave me a greater sense of empathy, how we are. Because, when you have been so low, also socially, when you then come up, you get so much empathy because, when you become better to connect to people or even more popular, then sometimes you can look down on people. I have a very hard time to do that. I rather want to find a way, how can we connect? How can we meet each other and also create, a better future for each other? I have kids. I have 2 bonus kids, 1 biological son. And I want to be like a role model for them. So they hopefully going to be better than me.
Thank you so much for opening up from the beginning. I know it was a big question and it was the first one. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mar, you are a member of the training team of Bodynamic International. Mm-hmm. You're also the founder of Somatic School of Body Psychotherapy and the official representative in Portugal of Somatic Experiencing.
Yes, and Bodynamic in Portugal and Spain.
Okay, so there's a lot of somatic practices and methods in your practice. And I was curious, how did these approaches shape you, both as the professional you are and maybe on a more personal level?
So I didn't start from body therapy. I graduated in cognitive behavioral therapy. But now I know also I have ADHD. So I was always out of the box. I was feeling like the cognitive was not enough. And then I found through some personal experiences, somatic experience was the first stage. Was not in Portugal any kind of these trainings, but we found a way to organize. And I start from there. So I start to organize to have the trainings in my country. So then I cannot travel. So I make them come. And in somatic experiencing, they start to use a lot the body, and it was huge for me. I have a lot of complex PTSD on my personal childhood. They say, more than half of psychologists, they are looking for healing themselves. So I prove this theory.
Maybe more than half.
I think I said more than half. Okay. Yeah. But anyway, but this also gives passion to the work, in my opinion. We really love, and you need to have passion to work with trauma a lot. I can work for hours and I love it. And then on the last module is about chronic pain, somatic experience. And the teacher made a demonstration on me, brought some pain in my menstruation, was considered a chronic pain. And then the teacher made me say some sentence. She did the intervention and she said, "Can you repeat this sentence? You have the right to exist in your own sex." And funnily, my father was struggling. He wants a boy as a first child and I was a girl. And it was interesting to correlate this relationship between this story and my symptom. And this sentence was huge inside of me. And because somatic experience is a lot about nonverbal communication, and the book is unspoken voice, I'm a little bit rebel, HHD. I asked the teacher where this sentence comes from, where this phrase comes from. And then she showed me the Body Encyclopedia, and then start my journey in Bodynamic. So since then, I'm organizing Somatic Experiencing and Bodynamic trainings, and then I'm a psychotherapist, and also I teach now. But the resource of the body, I don't know. It could be because I'm a more synesthetic person, but I think the role play of feeling yourself when you are talking, it makes a huge difference in therapy. Because when we talk, we are so attached to the words and to the story. When we ask this basic question that all the psychologists asked, even Freud, what you are feeling right now. Even the question, what you are feeling, is so abstract. You can answer for so many places. So we kind of start to work with more sensations, and I'm more oriented to concrete. I'm more oriented to stoic orientation. I think whatever issue we have, he shows himself through your life in a concrete way. I know there's some behavioralists says you are what you do. I don't think we are just what we do, but what we do is what we show to the world and to ourselves. So if we don't change what we do, we cannot really have what we want. So Lisbeth is really oriented to the concrete. She even says knowing what you struggle, knowing your pain is interesting, is important, but it's not enough to change your daily life. So I really like the body because it's so concrete. There's nothing more concrete than a muscle.
That makes a lot of sense. And
Yeah.
I remember that even in our community, we have lots of conversations around the fact that I understand. I have the concepts. I know what I should be doing, and yet I don't seem to have a grasp on
it.
Exactly how can I act. And it's interesting that even the question that comes after that is, okay, how do I act? That's a concept in and of itself.
Yes.
And I love that you put the body as a resource. And I would like to maybe explore this more. How does it look? How does Bodynamic work to begin with? And explain it as I would be
5 years old child.
5-year-old who never learned about any of these and has no idea what it's about, and how exactly do we use the body as a resource in this method?
It is a very structured therapy. So we believe that a human has these many layers. So we have the thoughts, we have the emotions, we have the body sensations, and we have the behaviors. So I can say Bodynamic accomplish all these steps, and we even touch on the spirituality part, energetical part. So it's very complete. So we cover all the areas, and the door we go is from the body and from the muscle and the body sensation. But it doesn't mean we don't move the other areas. It's just the way we go. So in a simple way, what Lisbeth found out was during our development, we kind of learn to behave and feel in a certain way. If you see, the thought starts to be more complete after 5 years old. Before it's just you communicate with your body. If you have 2 years old, you reach out and you ask for a cup with your movement, with your body. So we are so concrete in the beginning. We are so operative that Lisbeth was saying, okay, the first 5-6 years of your life is just body and not words. So she was really looking for that. And we have a lot of information on that first 6 years of her life. So in a simple way, she investigated what happened with us, how we learn to cope with life. And then from there, we will go in life, in grown up. And we think, but we also have some more foundations on the behavior, on the body than we think. So the body will be our main resource as a way to analyze you, as a way to understand you, as a way to meet you. So if I see some muscles, I can see what kind of meeting you had in your childhood. And in one hand, I will not push things that will be discomfortable for you. And another way, I will take advantage of the ones that you privilege. So this is amazing. That's why we are analyzing. So we can analyze from the body a lot of hypotheses of your childhood. And from there, then we will see what the muscles that show us that you had some struggles, some challenges, and then we match the story you are bringing to the office with what we see in your body. And then we try to change the story and the muscle and the body and the behavior. We try to teach you. So we call ourselves pedagogues. So for us, development trauma is because you were so busy to defend yourself from a struggle, you didn't learn something. So development trauma is a lack of teaching. So right now you sit with me and I will teach you this for the first time. And it looks like silly, but I can give you an example. Some people, they didn't learn the right to ask for help. That's very often. It looks like weird, but they you have a little bit. So yeah, you are not alone. For some reasons, because our parents were very busy or something, it looks like so simple, but we don't ask for help. And then, okay, I can sit with you in my office and you start to ask me help. That's not enough. We will have very unique way to make you touch this subject on you through your mind, through your emotions, and through your sensations and your body. And then I will do a movement with you with all respect, like you are a child. And then this amazingly open a new way to do it. And from this movement, you start to open a possibility to try it. It's very important principle that Lisbeth was inspired from Vygotsky, pedagogic perspective. He said, if the child is in a specific moment, we need to meet this development ability. So if you are too much pushy, the child cannot grasp. If you are too much easy, he gets bored. So we need to meet the person in exactly the moment he is. So if I teach you to reach out for help, I will not say, now I teach you, like cognitive behavior therapy, and you are going to do it right now. We do it with the movement, and this is huge. It looks like weird, but it's huge. And then I will ask you to practice in small examples. Like now you are going to practice this in a cafe. So tomorrow you go to the cafe and you ask help to the lady on the cafe. And you use this muscle consciousness. So if I can make it very simple, is this, and it's impressive. Sometimes a grown-up needs 2-3 times to experiment. Then he see he will not die, and then he change. And after a while, it becomes also automatic. So
it's an amazing experience. Proving to ourselves that we're still going to be alive after it, right?
Yeah, that's when it's a new thing. Ironically, we think something very wrong will happen, and we don't give ourselves the try, or we do like extreme. We know we cannot reach out for help, and then we tend to be extreme. Now I'm going to ask. Then because we don't know how to do it, we exaggerate and the result is negative. And then we confirm, you see, this is not for me. That's exactly the issue. In development, it's like kids. We don't teach to ride a bicycle from one day to another. I don't know if it was simple, but it was the best I can simplify.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. So you are using the story, but as I understand it, and please correct me if I'm wrong, you're using it to be mapped on the body movement that you've already observed, rather than starting from the story and then bringing the body into the equation.
Actually, one of the big things I really love in Bodynamic, they are focused on the here and now. So we don't have any intention to investigate every stage of your life what happened. Actually, because life is so nice that you can have a chance to learn this skill in your teenager, in your grown-up life. We learn many things in life. You know, some relationships teach us something. So we don't consider the person is from the zero. We start from what is right now taking you from your maximum power. What is bothering you now? So we start from the complaint, from the consequence. I have this issue. You come to me and say, Mar, I realize with this podcast, I have struggles to ask for help. Do you help me to change that on me? And we go from there. And then I have ways to see from your body where you didn't learn that. Of course, we know every stage is a school stage. I used to do this metaphor. So when we go to primary school, we have to have some content. So the first stage is to learn the letters and the numbers, and then you start to complicate. So we know that some specific themes, they are learned on this specific age. For instance, this issue, we know is around 2 years old and 4 years old, and is when it's supposed to learn to ask for help.
Let's talk about stages for a bit.
To understand,
yeah, exactly. We've got 7 developmental stages, right? And they're mapped throughout the years from before the beginning of life, from the in utero experience to 12 years of age, right? How do they go?
Do you want to answer this one? Yeah.
No, you can explain that very nicely.
So stages are studied in many schools. Actually, Lisbeth was inspired for all of them. She collect many stages that was already done. She was a little bit impressed with some names, like Freudian names, like anal, psychopath.
She didn't like those at all.
Because that's interesting, because you will have some scientists like Erikson focus on the motoric development of the child. And some psychologists focus on the trauma. So Freud gave the names according to the trauma, and Erikson gave the names according to the knowledge, what this child is learning on this stage. Lisbeth is a combination of both. So she was looking for what happens if it's very good development, or what happens when there's some trauma. So we have 7 stages. It starts with 3 months in the womb. And then we go to teenager. 7 stages, you have all the layers of school. Then we go to teenager, you have the chance to do some internship. So all the stages opens from 13 to now 25. So you have a chance to practice and maybe catch some lessons you didn't learn or make it worse. Yeah. That's always the case.
And that's a good thing when you have kids. You know, we do the best as parents. But we always do mistake, of course.
Yeah, I used to say to my students, okay, if you saw you did a mistake here in the first 7 years, let's try to fix it in teenager.
Get a second chance.
Yes. And then we go to grown-up life with what we have. So the 7 stages, they have specific motoric development tasks and psychological development tasks. So Lisbeth correlated the 2 things together. So when I'm learning to walk, I'm also learning to be autonomous.
Okay.
When I learn to feed myself, I'm also learning to be fulfilled, let's say, and so on.
If I could add something.
Yeah, sure.
Because, you know, some of the other character structures that was made before, a lot of them was also made on grown-up traumatized people. And one thing I know Lisbeth was very focused on, because she was a body worker and she also worked with kids, like, how can we follow kids' development? Not only with the mind, but also with the body and mind and the psychomotoric development. And she did that, and, you know, she developed the ego function, you know, all the psychological theme with the muscle way before. And she was like, I need a character structure. And she didn't like the other one, how there was. So she started also to look at kids and their development. And Lisbeth was so lucky, because in the 70s, there was 2 Scandinavian women from Denmark and Sweden. I think it was Britta Holle and...
I don't know the name, but yeah.
Yeah, the other one was also Britta. And they had actually made a research with the psychomotoric development for kids to teenage. Like, when does a muscle get activated?
Okay.
You know,
yeah. I think I maybe this, for those who don't know so much this language, you need to separate a little bit something. So the stages are the levels of school, let's say metaphor, all the children they've been through these stages. Yeah, actually, there's a Netflix series with that called Babies that you can see is from
Edwardtronic, yeah.
That he compares a baby in Africa with a baby in China with a baby in the United States. So all the babies around these months, they start to walk, they start to talk. So this is something that we don't control. Is neurodevelopment is happening. And then what Lisbeth was saying is, when you have a trauma, then you build what we call a defense mechanism. We call character structure. So character structures mean a defense. So one thing are the stages. Another thing is the defense mechanism, is the trauma.
Which is basically the response.
The defense that the child found. So she started first to investigate. Back in the 60s, 70s was very fashion, the body therapy.
End of the 60s, I think 68, 69 she started.
And then she was in a specific school using massage. That was very popular in the age to release your emotions through some massage in the muscles. And she started to investigate what is about the muscles when they don't have so much tension. Because back in the days, Reich was a student from Freud. He was really obsessed with the rigidness on the muscles. So he was really massage some muscles to release some emotions, to heal some trauma. So it was very popular, what they call character coraza. Is like you have armor that is rigid and you need to relax. But then she would start to think, what about collapsed muscles? When the muscles are loose, what happens? And she didn't find anything. And she was starting an investigation. So what she did in the beginning was ask her colleagues from the therapists if they can answer some questionnaire when they are doing this massage to their clients. It was like something, I'm not so sure, but if I'm doing a mistake, but it was about what is the texture of response of the muscle, if it's more collapsed or if it's more tense. What is the issue that the person brought up spontaneously? What is the emotion? And with this collection, I think was 50,000 questionnaires.
The story was also, what she found out because she was touching muscle and different stories and themes came up. And she was like, oh my God, man. And she could sense some muscle was even neutral. Other muscle was very hard and armor, and other muscle was like collapsed or even more collapsed.
And people were actually going into some specific themes of some stories.
And she noticed a pattern. And then she was like, my God. She got very, very curious there. And then she started like a research, in parallel research. And then she had a professional group that helped her to do it good. And she asked some of her colleagues, can you do this with your clients? I think there were around 400 or 500 clients and around 15,000 papers. And it took them, what was it, 68, 69 to 73, 74. She finished that. And that showed 125 muscles. With different psychological themes.
So from that study, she got, okay, I have some muscles. And now I know these muscles have some relationship with these psychological issues. So for instance, asking help. For instance, we know what muscle is responsible for that. And then she built these 11 ego functions. So in a way, you have the map of your body and you have the issues that are related. And she realized some people collapse, they give up, acting in what we call in psychology, or they kind of fight back or hold back. So then she was super happy and she started to teach her colleagues. But then she struggled with, it was 125 muscles with a lot of information. So she struggled a little bit to make it more concrete as she liked. Then she went to see the stages. So then she started the second round of the study. Now I'm going to understand when this muscle starts to develop in the child. And then I know when the trauma happens.
Okay. Yeah? And I can map it.
So if I know, for instance, pectoralis is about self-esteem, being proud of your accomplishments. You know, when you are proud, you do this. And,
you open chest.
You are proud.
I never thought of the fact that we put medals.
We do this. We do. And when we say to a kid, well done, they say, oh, So then the pectoralis, you look in which age the pectoralis start to be used consciously. Because sometimes the kids move the muscles, but they are not really conscious. When the child starts to move this muscle, do you have any idea when you start to use it? If I ask you,
when I start to use these muscles,
as a child,
I would say sometime between, I don't know, 3 and
perfect.
5 of age, something like this.
Your past exam.
She was anxious. Thank you.
I will bring you a certificate.
Diploma. That was exactly the second stage of the study. So you are so right. 3 years old. So she mapped now when, if you have an issue on this muscle, on this psychological function, it means something happens in the 3 years old. So then she take pictures every day to children in this investigation to see, because she was already having the muscle, what is the ego function, and now she just need to know when it happened. And then she built what we call today the 7 stages and the character structure. So the stages are the stages, and the character structures is the defense mechanism. If the person collapse or tense the muscle in order to manage life, and then we can map you a little bit.
We'll go to character structures in a bit. I just wanted to ask you, is it okay if we overlap on the screen when we create the episode? Is it okay if we overlap the image with the stages from the website,
course.
so we have a visual image of
Oh,
it?
crazy. I will give you permission. Go crazy.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you for asking for the
you
respect.
can put children, you can put Lisbeth, overlap everything.
So you guys will have the image on the screen, so you can see exactly how they develop and how the stages also intersect, because there's some of them
overlap.
That happen
Always,
at the same time. So we can know, and we do know, when something goes off track and what happens if it goes off track at that specific age. Okay, let's go into character strengths now. You said that it's either we collapse, we go, how did you call it?
Hypo-responsive is the correct term. Hypo is when the muscle tends to kind of lose the energy, the movement.
So lower than it would be optimal.
So we have hypo is collapsing, you have hyper is tensing, and you have neutral or balance. Balance is not so much collapsing or tensing, is just normal movement.
Okay. So what happens at every stage? What happens when the response is early? So it's more like I collapse, I renounce, I give up, rather than later in that stage.
So with this study, Lisbeth found out, why some people collapse towards a issue and why some people tend to be more tense or holding back. And then when she studied the kids, she realized every stage has a beginning and a ending, of course, and the muscle start to move. For instance, pectoralis, it starts with 2 years old. So in the beginning, the muscle is learning to do the movement, and the child, through the environment, is learning to be proud. So it comes naturally, but he starts with a movement, very shy movement. So the muscle start to learn the ego function and literally the motoric development.
It's not yet exercised.
So we have 7 stages, and they all have the beginning of the stage and the end of the stage. So what Lisbeth found out was, if the child has a challenge in the beginning of the stage, because the muscle is not strong enough, because the muscle is starting, because the child didn't practice enough, his way to manage stress is tend to give up of the movement. If you see electronic videos, he did an investigation also with children about still face, was children with parents, and then the parents, they do like poker face. And you see different children using different defense mechanisms to reach out to mommy. And was a specific video that has a child with 6 months. He tried 2-3 times, but after a while he gave up. Give up literally, physically, emotionally, and mentally. He kind of, but the body, you can see it. He gave up. He kind of went away and looked to the sky, but his body was giving up. And we see other videos, children fighting until mommies look. some of them, they beat the mother. Like, what's wrong with you? Come here. So what we found out, Lisbeth, by the way, it was not we.
I like we. I like we.
What she found out with her team, was, okay, when we are in the beginning of the stage, if there's trauma, what is trauma? It's a lack of meeting the child as necessary. So it could be overprotection. So you don't let the child do the movement, or it could be some aggressivity or some absence of stimulation. The child don't have this practice, so he will tend to collapse, and this makes this muscle to collapse. So what we call is early defense. Early because it's in the moment of the stage too early. So he will tend to collapse physically, psychologically, emotionally, and mentally. On the other hand, if you have the beginning of the stage more or less okay, but then something shifted before the stage ended, because the child already know the movement, the psychological meaning, he had the experience, but then he have to stop it for some reason. Then instead of collapse, he holds back. It's like not a choice of, I'm not going to use it. I know how to use it, but I'm not going to use it because, again, it's dangerous. A very good example I like to give is the child starts to crawl, and for mothers is okay because he can go maximum far away there. He cannot go so far, so you can be here talking, and we know he will crawl until there. So we let them go. So he feels like I have the right to go in my life, and my mother is okay. But when they start to walk out of the blue, it could be from one day to another. The mother that was so cool, suddenly the mother gets super stressed. Don't move. Come here. Don't move. Come here. Don't move. Don't touch. Don't. So suddenly the child learned, I have the right to be independent, but she takes that away from me. Now every move I make, it looks like I'm in danger. So then he learned to be loved and to be respected and to be having some dignity. I have to hold my independency. So she takes that away from me. So then you see how can we develop what we call late defense mechanism, that it will have the same issue, is about being independent, but my defenses will be a little bit different.
It's a different response.
Yeah, and if you compare with Freud, for instance, he has the stages, or Erikson, they have the issue, they found the same thing, but the way he works with oral, for instance, that is a stage, or psychopath is this stage I'm talking about walking and autonomy. They kind of use the same recipe for that issue. And Lisbeth found out if it's early, we need to approach in one way. If it's late, we need to approach in a different way. And this is huge. I didn't found this. I used to say Bodynamic is a customized therapy. Is really in details and really go to your issue and is not generalized. And I think this answers a lot of clients that feel not met. They know we are close, but this is not exactly what I need. And in some cases could traumatize you again, because that's the issue. But you need to see if the person is more giving up or more resistance, because the way you will work, it will be antagonic. And this is important. Okay.
Yeah, I think that was one of the keys for my development with my ADHD, and also I still have ADHD and some Asperger, but I think that was the key for my development, that they could do that and they could read that. Yeah. They knew exactly where to intervene.
Yeah.
So it's not just about the need and it not being met and becoming an issue. It's also about addressing the way the person learned to respond.
And then also learn, I've met so many people that say, oh, I hate my defense. Like, oh, it gave me such a bad life. Lisbeth always said, listen, that might be true right now in this context. Maybe your defense is not so good. If I'm going to show my defense right now to you in this podcast with Mar, it will maybe not be so good, but this defense have saved you many, many times.
Yeah.
So Lisbeth always said, listen, if you truly want to change, you have to learn to love your defense.
Yeah.
You have to learn to honor it. It has saved you. It's one of the reasons you are here. Of course, it's not so nice in this context, but you know what? We can learn now with this beautiful map of the psychological function, ego function, character structure. You have a map now. You have a key to learn when to use your defense and when not to use it.
Yes.
So in that way, you become such a captain for your own shit.
Actually, this is a philosophy that she used. We don't work breaking the defense mechanism or change it. Most of schools, they do that. Okay, your defense is I don't ask help to not bother anyone, let's say. Sorry to use that example.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
So then I will try to change that. And we don't do that. Keep it because it's useful. It is so useful, but let's teach you something else. So we are focused on, like I said, development was a lack of repertoire. I didn't learn to ask, to not ask, to stay, to... So that's what we consider, she don't likes this word, but healthy mental health, let's say.
You don't like it so much.
Healthy.
I even use it and Jonas looked at me like this when I use it. I like it too.
Healthy means you have many options and you can choose. So we can define healthy is a person that is aware of their dilemmas and have a choice. Trauma is when you don't have a choice and you act like this and you love to change. So I know we say to our students, love your defense mechanism, but that's a struggle in the foundation training because we teach how it's supposed to be right, what happens when go wrong, and then they start to see how much they have
how
this
many
trauma.
of mine are actually
and of course naturally we have a tendency to be upset or sad because we struggle so much for this defense mechanism, but we forget that this really helped us when no one was there for us. This is a huge thing for me. The child is just this size and he find a way. He's not the perfect, but he found a way. He don't need anyone. He really, with his body, he found a way. I think this is impressive. But this is a struggle we have in the foundation because the first moment is to feel the horrible mother ever. And then, oh my God, I have so much defense mechanism. But then we move on and say, okay, this is so useful. And then I just want to teach you something else. And then when you have other skills, you put down your defense. Defense is only when you feel struggle, when you feel the challenge. So it's not the case you use it because you are just taking a caipirinha in the ocean. It's because you are having a challenge. So I like you to have defenses because you never know. Tomorrow you can start the war, can start something. So keep your defenses. Just own it and use it when you want.
I like
That's the thing.
The caipirinha.
And I'll come back to how we love our defense mechanisms. I just wanted to stay a bit on this difference between collapsing and hyper, as you were saying, Mar. And I'm curious about something that I asked you before starting to record, and I think it's an important distinction there. So what's the if there's any similarity between these and the freeze, fight, flight responses that we encounter in somatic experience, for example?
So as I was saying to you, when we think about fight, flight, freeze, is a response that is not exclusive to humans. So animals, they also have, and is an important mechanism to situations when you experience life, death situations. It could be literal, or it could be imaginary. So you think you are going to die. And in that moment, actually science says is 6 seconds. Your subcortical areas make a choice to fight, flight, freeze as a defense from your life. Okay. So this is very useful because, life happens and we have that experience and we don't think too much. We don't feel too much. Is actually good. We don't think too much or we don't feel too much, because then if we think, my God, should I fight? Should I flight? Then I'm dead. So even Bessel van der Kolk, that is psychologist, he did this, The Body Keeps the Score, probably. He scanned the brain after expose the clients to a high level of stress, and you see this prefrontal area and limbic area was shut down, and the subcortical was very active for you to be very focused on your survival. So this is what SE give us, and is a huge thing. Actually, also teach the students to lose the fear of their fear, to touch that energy, because it's an energy that we don't use every day. So some people get scared of their own body. So I think SE really teach you to lose the fear of that sensations and emotions. Just relax, is your instinct. Come on, that's very useful. But the rule, the skill of bodynamic is a little bit in another level. So when we talk about development, hopefully we don't experience our childhood as a fight, flight, freeze situation, as life, death situation. So the children, most of the babies, they born and there's a bunch of family, shut up, quiet, ten, 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 don't do any noise. So the babies are really in a very safe environment. So they don't experience life, death situation. Of course, they are vulnerable in the first year. And if you let the baby neglected, they experience fight, flight, freeze because they think they are going to die. They think. I don't know if they think, they feel, yeah? But overall, development is about daily life. Me, mommy, and daddy feeling safe, feeling connected. So then the body starts to feel a little bit arousal and stress, fight, flight, freeze, but not in the level of death. It's like sympathetic and parasympathetic system, some freeze moments because you are overwhelmed, but it's seconds. So the job is slowly you start to use your consciousness. And for us, the first level of consciousness is your body. So the baby communicates to you with sounds, with crying, with movements, and hopefully the caretakers see the connection and they also talk. You can talk with your baby. Actually, Lisbeth says talk with them. They don't understand your words, but they understand your energy.
Also when they're in the stomach. Talk and sing to that stomach.
But if you give a big lecture to a baby with 6 months, it don't grasp your words. It just grasp your energy, your sensation, your emotions. That's the communication through the muscles, through the body. So if you have 7 months and you do this movement to your mother, she knows what you want. You want contact, huh? Hopefully. Then if the mother don't want, then you have the defense mechanism and you come to foundation to heal. Yeah. So when it comes to development trauma, it's not about fight, flight, freeze. It's about, it's more complicated. It's about being met. Mm-hmm. It's about being connected. It's about rhythm. It's so many issues. And of course, we use the nervous system as a self-regulator to support the muscles, but I could make it simple. Somatic experiences focus on your involuntary response, and the bodynamic focus on the voluntary response because it requires a choice. It goes for your nervous system, and then the baby makes a choice of a movement. So this is consciousness.
So already when I'm aware of my body, I'm already here and I'm conscious.
You are conscious. Of course, when we have trauma, we have layers of consciousness. So we don't do a movement. That's why sometimes we say, oh my God, I have issues to ask my needs, but I only realize afterwards. I need to work this on therapy. So sometimes I'm not conscious in the moment. I didn't ask. Why I didn't ask? Only after I realized. So there's levels of consciousness, but bodynamic works with the body and conscious. Is not about involuntary things. It's really different. Of course, as I told you, most of us, we have shock trauma during the development trauma, and this makes what we call today complex PTSD. It's a combination of both. Is when the fight, flight, freeze gets mixed with development. Mm-hmm. And this requires a little bit more skills and tools, but what I recommend is study well the development and study well the shock energy, and then we can put it together. That's my passion, actually. I love to do that. And this is the most often what we see in people, these two things together.
Mm-hmm. And you said, Mar, and I would like to invite you, Hadi, to say it again like you said it before we hit record. I know it's not going to come out exactly the same, but I really loved that idea. You're talking in Bodynamic, you're talking about connection and dignity, right? And you talked about mutual connection as being somehow...
is one of the hard-on foundation in bodynamic. Lisbeth, when she started to be interested in psychotherapy, actually, I want to go a little bit back also what also started Lisbeth's journey to come into the mutual connection. When Lisbeth was 3.5, 4 years old, she's born in the Second World War. So in 1944, I think she's 3.5. She had an experience because, Denmark is occupied by Germany. And she's out. She's been doing acrobat, I think. And at that time, because, the war is not going so good for Germany. So the Germans, they are shooting more civilians more often. So what happened at that day was some alarm comes, all that. And they cannot find down to the basement. So they have to go to an alley. And there, Lisbeth is with her mom and her brother. And suddenly all the German soldiers are like running. And suddenly the German soldiers see them and put the gun to her mom. And like when Lisbeth tells me this story, she says, yeah, she thinks probably he was a young boy, probably only 17. And she could have been shot there, like he's pointing, but she get the connection. She get the eye contact with him. And she's afraid and he's afraid. And she actually sees fear in him in that connection. And I think it's a very beautiful moment because you have, two enemies there. But there is connection and she sees fear. And this kickstart, this little girl, she wants to remove all fear from the world. She later found out that, fear is also a good thing, but it's good to have a little less fear. Then it goes into her journey because of also that experience and also her study with Konrad Lorentzen and with animal psychology, like how important connectedness is. And, in the 60s, in the 70s, it's so big with the sexual drive, Sexual drive is extremely important, also in bodynamic. But you know what? It was like sexual drive is the biggest, is the main drive in the human. And Lisbeth said she don't agree, actually. For her was the mutual connection, like the connection you and me can have together, or the connection me and Mar can have together in dignity. And that was the main foundation of her teaching. Like she always told me when I was like 3-4 years old, because I didn't understand it when she explained me. So I was like, and then she tried to be very simple. And she said, there's monks. I say, yeah, they can go in celibat. They don't act on their sexuality and all that. And they can still be very good people, have good connection, be very sane in their mind. No problem. But if I take you to an island and there's no connection, you're not going to be with anybody. You're just going to be with yourself. So you could maybe still have to do your sexuality with whatever, but there's no connection. You're going to get mad. And for her this is the proof. We are pack humans. And so we are seeking so much connection in this world. So we're all moving to the city. I see even Bucharest is growing. We're all moving to the city and then we go to our each apartment and then we still trying to get this connectedness.
We're on our phones all day long, and yet
that's the thing. The phone. Of course, I also like my phone, but sometimes the phone is a little too much cocaine. When we look at this all the time and scrolling, it is kind of a cocaine in many ways.
It is.
But the drive is the mutual connection and dignity. And I know it for myself. Like I told you about my own life, I know how important it is to have a good pack. A pack that can support you. And so my mom always told me, you can be good alone, but we can only be great together.
I love this, and I love the idea that they have to go together for the connection to be mutual. And I was curious about another maybe similarity that came in my mind between the connection and dignity and attachment and authenticity, which, as I understand it, is still about with the other and within myself, and myself showing up as the individual that I am. And I'm curious about the differences between connection and attachment. How are they different?
So as I was saying, bodynamic has a specific view about attachment. It's not contrary of Bowlby. Of course, we all studying people, and it was very weird if we found different things. So they are similar, but then we have some differences that could be opposite or similar. But when it comes to this task of attachment, Lisbeth says in the first place, we are really focused to fight, flight, freeze. So the first months of your life, the birth really triggers you. You are with your mother in the womb and you think this is life.
Mm-hmm.
And then the birth is a transition that scares you a lot. You think you are going to die.
So that's about survival. That's one of the
That's
moments
about survival. So the baby will attach to anything. You see this video with Punch that is very famous right now.
Yeah, poor thing.
So he attached to the caretaker of the zoo,
or the Wire Mother experiment, which was looking at the same thing. The baby was attaching to a plushie, although it didn't give it food, as opposed to something that would be wired. But
in this case, Lisbeth says he attached to both in different ways in some moments. But the thing is, this will use the resources of fight, flight, freeze. It is not so conscious. You are looking for survive. And hopefully we think the baby should, in a very nice way, attach and feel like after a month, okay, I realize this is a new way of being together, so I'm safe again. So that will be a very succeed attachment. Unfortunately, some of us, we don't feel this task finished. So we are still looking in our partners on Tinder to attach. And sometimes it is not what we want, but we feel like we are going to die if we finish this relationship. When the person says, without this partner, I will die, I will put my red flag to attachment. Because of course he will not die. It's not fight, flight, freeze, but this is the attachment task.
So it's more about fusing with the other person.
It's not about fusing. You are fusional in the womb, and we kind of ask you to separate, and this is very scary. So the baby needs some weeks to trust this is a new way, but we are still safe. So of course they look fusion because that's familiar, but then we need to teach the child, no, this is a new way. You will love it. Trust on me. So if this task is not finished well, of course we tend to go to fusion and we perceive fusion as safety. So then we have a lot of troubles with relationships in the future. Then we move on after we feel safe. Then we start to move to consciousness. Then the instinct starts to let it go. And then you start to use your muscles to connect. Then the baby starts what we call bonding. You know, I want mommy, I reach out. And then she comes. And then she goes. And then hopefully she's there. That's the pleasure of being together. And we are the center of the world. And is the most amazing time of your life because you are just there receiving and being special and everyone loves you. You know, the first 6 months of your life, you are the king. And you know, there's so, and you know, I see a lot of people, they didn't overcome is over. They still look for that. They go to retreats and they get naked and fusion and together. And then you ask some questions. What you need? Just love, just being together, just being connected. But unfortunately, guys, this is only the first 6 months of your life. Then is over paradise. But again, it's imperative that is a transition, slow transition. If it's suddenly, we will get also traumatized. So for us, these two tasks, the first attachment is about survival. The second is about rhythms and being met and safe and trust that I can reach out and I can come back. So this is what we call bonding. And of course, this is about, bonding is not about only safety and connection. It's about also dignity. Can you please give me a break? You know, one of the good things the baby love is to have fun with their own feet and with just being with myself. You know, these people say, I love to be myself. I have so much pleasure to be myself. I'm going to shock you because this is lifestyle, Lisbeth style. They start to masturbate with this age, with their hips, the legs. This is a moment when you feel like, okay, life is so good. Life is give me things, you know. So we don't need all the time connection. I love to be with myself, with my music, listen. So when the parents are too much overwhelming the child on this age, they don't let the kid really listen their own center. The kid needs to be a little bit listen. What I feel now, I want milk, I want to sleep, I want to have some contact. So if I listen myself and then I reach out to you and hopefully you respect my dignity to have it in my time. So it's not only about being loved. These ages, mamas, especially the first ones, me included, we want to be there all the time. And the baby, can you give me a break? Can you give me some dignity to have the things in my way? So then we have these needs. So authenticity is when you have the right to say, you know what, I love you, but now I want to be alone. This is to be authentic. If I'm scared to lose you, I don't dare to say that. And I will be with you. And I say, I love you, but I'm not there. So we need both. Hopefully, we get the chance to have both. So this authenticity and connection is in all the stages. We will practice in different ways. For instance, the next stage is autonomy, is about start to crawl and walk. And I will reach out for help. But at some point, let me do alone. This is dignity. But I would like to reach out for help if I need. So all the stages we will have a chance to practice both, that you can be yourself and also to connect. So this mutual connection is I am me, you are you, and we can be mutual together. So this is a little bit what we teach. And all the stages you will have chances to have both. When you have trauma, you have to choose one. In early stage, the babies tend to choose safety and connection first. They are smart, Dignity is secondary. If I'm not feeling safe or connected, it's very hard to think about dignity. Then if I'm safe and connected, then I can choose to have some dignity. I can tolerate distance because I can handle. So that's overall, we will teach that also in foundation.
Yeah, for sure. Bodynamic, is a big education to become a body psychotherapist or a psychotherapist. But I always tell my friends, they could be military people and you name it, or business people. I tell them, listen, before you get kids, you don't need to take the whole bodynamic education, but take the foundation, because there you not only learn a lot about yourself, but you learn about us. Small kids, their development and how to meet them.
Yeah.
Before I was becoming a therapist in bodynamic, I worked as a pedagogue and social worker in kindergarten, in refugee camps. And for me, it made me such a better pedagogue to work with kids. Because I knew the age, where the development, where the conscious, so I could customize even what games and how to meet the kids. So it's really, it's such a unique tool in that way.
And we even see, for instance, I can give an example. The kids, when they start to walk, they walk like Chaplin because they need some balance, platform. So I can see a kid in the street, and if he walk like this, I know what stage he is, and I know what kind of contact he needs. Then we see grown-ups with the feet like this, and then we think, okay, I know what happened in that stage, because the feet, they stay like that. They didn't develop. So this... especially to know what to not do for parents and caretakers, I think is impressive. It's very good. It's very good.
Yeah, even in the training now, even grown-ups, they have some of those.
Yes.
You can see it in the body.
Yes,
and sometimes we work, and now I saw Mar do a demo, for example, and they're like, Mar, how do you know that? Are you psychic? Like, how can you know this place? And she explained it so beautiful, as I love to see her explanation. Like, listen, guys, it's this development, and your body shows that.
Yeah,
that's why I can intervene and exactly meet.
But around the connection and dignity is abstract, but it will also show through your actions and through your body also.
What happens when they overlap? For example, I'm looking at the stage of need, which is from 1 month to 18 months. And then you've got autonomy that starts at 8 months and lasts until 2.5 years of age. What happens when they overlap? Say something happens that's in late need and early autonomy.
Yeah,
how does it show?
That's a very interesting question. So as I said, the baby start to use some muscles to develop this stage. So we have all the muscles for each stage that are active in that moment. Lisbeth, separate that. So I know, for instance, in the need, which muscles are active in that moment and what is the ego functions they are learning. Then autonomy, it will be another muscles and another issues. I used to joke that in the morning they are in the need, and in the afternoon they are in the autonomy, and that's why they need to sleep a lot, because it's too much information. But it comes together.
So I can both I can both respond with collapsing and
so what means is the muscles there were already starting on 1 month in the need. When it comes 18 months, that is 9 months, that's when autonomy starts, they are already mature. So whatever have to happen is already happened. And the issues are that one. So for instance, on need structure is about needs. So we have some muscles, they will be active around that issues. When you start autonomy, you start new muscles, and then it will be about another issue. So if your parents, let's say with 9 months, that is the beginning of the need structure, they put you in creche, in the kindergarten, it could have an impact. You become late need because the first 6 months, 9 months was paradise with mommy. But then you get also early autonomy because you came to creche and then there no one let you walk, and you have to sit in these chairs like looking like to the roof. I used to say these ages, they are specialists in roof because they lay down the kids and they look the roofs and the sky. They are very specialists to look in the emptiness. And then you grow up and then you talk with your boyfriend and he's looking to the sky because he learned this from creche, you know, where you are looking.
You see the grow and you...
Oh my, I know a lot. Where you are looking, nowhere, nothing. I'm hearing you because it's like empty, you know. Yeah, I have many stories from real life, I can tell you.
Life is so alive. It's a big comedy sometimes, but it's true. You see it in grown-ups all the time.
Yeah. So one thing that I think is very important to clarify, the trauma is not about the performance of the caretakers. It's about when it happened. So if happens in the beginning, this will be impact on your muscles and your mind and your development. Because sometimes I think when it comes to parenting and development, we are so focused on the parenting performance. And this is about the child development. When I'm this age, if I don't have this specific environment, I cannot develop that. And this is study in pedagogic development in neuroscience. If the kid is not stimulated or if it's overstimulated, it will have an impact. It doesn't matter how much performance the parents could have. What matters is how much the child is capable to absorb. You can try to teach a child with 9 months to read. He will not. It's not ready. The muscles are not there. The development is not. It doesn't matter. You can try. It doesn't work. You need to wait for some development is ready for it to happen. So it's the same principle. It's the same principle.
Okay. Thank you so much. Now, coming back to loving your defense mechanism. And I'd like to invite you to give some maybe practical examples, concrete examples here about specific mechanisms that you encounter in your practice, and how is a person to go about loving them, and maybe build some new resources or alternatives when it comes to responding.
Okay, there's one very popular that is that is from autonomy. Is when you start to learn your emotions, to deal with your emotions. This age is when the kids start to really, they start to speak small words and they say, I'm angry. They used to talk in the third person. Maria is sad. Maria is angry. Maria is happy. So, and it's the beginning of you recognize your emotions. And if you are traumatized in this stage, you don't connect well with your emotions. You disconnect. So you replace the lack of ability to manage your emotions with emptiness. You don't feel anything. That's why Freud was calling psychopaths, because the kid, they get empty. He gets so overwhelmed and he gets empty. So when you grow up as a grown-up, as an adult, when you are under stress, suddenly you don't feel anything. You just feel empty. This is a defense mechanism. Very useful, by the way.
I can save you.
Because you don't know what to do, you get empty.
Yeah.
And then your poker face, no reaction. And this is a huge defense mechanism. But the fact that you don't feel your emotions, it takes you ability to control. Because you don't know your emotions, therefore you don't know what to do, therefore you don't know what actions you will do. So people will ask you questions, you don't have anything to say? And they say, no, you said everything. It's a classic, with girls. Men, they tend to be very empty.
You said everything, Mar.
So, and these people will struggle with issues to control emotions. They will have tendency to feel overwhelmed very easy because they didn't practice to manage emotions. Every time I was feeling an emotion, I get empty. It's very comfortable. I don't feel anything. But then in the future, I need to feel my emotions to make my decisions, to understand what is going on. Then I even cannot manage my fear. And I have panic attacks and anxiety because I just feel overwhelmed and I don't know what to do with this because I didn't learn to manage my emotions. So this is a huge defense mechanism, getting empty. But the consequences is I feel I don't control myself. I feel a lot of lack of self-esteem because I feel empty. I feel a lot of issues with social balance because people reach out for me and I just get empty. And this is very frustrating because people experience you don't care. And you care so much, but you even don't know what happened with you. And it's very hard to convince a client, this is a huge defense mechanism. It's so good for you. Thank you. I hate it.
Get away from it.
I hate it because I see, I especially, I hurt a lot of people. And then I get empty and I don't know where I should start with. And then I can say, I think you are sad. And they say, maybe. Because I don't know if I am. If you say so, you are the specialist. So please tell me what I'm feeling. Because I didn't learn to map feelings and interpretation. So this is an example, very popular example. Another popular example is in the wheel structure, is from 2 to 4. In the beginning, the kids, they start to help. They like to be altruistic and do things. That's why we call the wheel, is when they start to make choices and decisions. They start to play with things. They love to have their own things done. You try to help to eject it and they say, no, I do it. I can do it. Yeah. And in the beginning, the parents, to control the kids, they kind of manipulate them and say, not now. Now mommy do it. They start to ask, like, for instance, they want to go to the park. And the parents say, we don't go now, we go tomorrow. And the kids, they tend to believe. They tend to,
but tomorrow never comes.
Yeah, you see? So they start to sacrifice themselves to not bother the parents, to wait, to be nice kids. So they tend to collapse. One very often example of life is the mothers are overwhelmed. It's very often in my generation of parenting, my parents. So the kids, they see the mother is very busy, is overwhelmed, is tired. He goes to the creche and it's raining and they go to the supermarket and the kids, they look and they think, okay, mommy is busy. I can wait a little bit. So I'm going to sacrifice a little bit. And then they start to do some noise. And then the mother say, can you please be quiet and not move? Mommy's with headache. And they make a huge effort to stay quiet. And they wait 5 minutes. They look like 5 hours. And then they come to mommy and say, are you better? And the mom would say, yeah. Thank you, sweetie. You are such a nice boy. Or such a nice man. And then he feels like, I'm a hero. I'm a Brufen. I can heal the headache of my mother. So we become grown-ups that we tend to sacrifice. We tend to overwork. We tend to not say what we want. And then we become a little passive-aggressive. I never do what I want. Yeah, I sacrifice for you and you don't recognize. So it's very often, especially women, they tend to be sacrificed for the loved ones, for work, for everything. And this is a defense mechanism that is amazing. It gives you tenacity. It gives you endurance. It gives you patience. It gives you love. It gives you amazing things. But then you start to get drowned. You get burnout. You feel like miserable. It's building of depression. You feel lost of power. And it is not so sexy defense mechanism. So you come to the office and then you say, oh, okay, great. I hate that. Can you please help me to change? And say, yeah, you start to not to sacrifice yourself, and be ready to lose all your friends, because they will experience you will be selfish now.
Yeah, you're changing.
That's very painful. When you start to let it go and not sacrifice, people, they like you because you are useful. And this is very painful, But this is what I see more in the office, these two things is very popular ones.
Yeah, and I also think especially the will structure is something that a lot of therapists are dealing with, because it is really the age, like Mar was saying, like I'm the hero. I'm I'm so powerful. And there's a lot of magical thinking that I can save the whole world.
Narcissism really get cooked on this stage.
So I have worked with a therapist later where they actually heal this place and then they don't want to be therapist anymore. It can happen.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense, because the will, the motivation came from that
to sacrifice and to help people. We get love from being patient, and it's like we change roles from mommy. We take care of the parents, being sacrificing our child a little bit. That's an example. I don't know if it's clear for you.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
One thing I really like also, about the character structure we're speaking about, when I learned that when I was 18, 19, I was even more emotional than I am now. And, I'm half Danish. My mother is Danish. My father is Lebanese. So when I came to different Danish parties, I was mostly the only guy that was a little dark hair. And I remember very clearly, sometimes I could meet people with different defense than me. I have a lot of emotional, a lot of will structure also. And then I could meet a person with what we would call early autonomy. The thing is, when you talk with a person, they have early autonomy, they would, I can speak with them and be very emotional. And then it's too much for them. And they just leave the conversation. And I'm like thinking, because now I feel wrong.
Yeah.
What did I do wrong? And then I have a lot of late will. They're like, fucking idiot. Sorry, my friends. Or he have more late autonomy. It's more verbal. It's a little older. So I will speak about some political thing and I'll be very excited. And then he starts to say, do you know it's going to be sun tomorrow, Hadi? And again, and I just went to my late will. So I went to I project that he's stupid because I could not contain my own emotions. I felt the shame. I felt there's something wrong with me. I didn't feel included. So I just, that was my defense. But then I learned, okay, maybe Hadi, this person probably is more mental, like introvert. And I learned about those different character structures. So next time I met this person, I could already see in his body when I came too close or my emotion was too much. Okay, it's not because he doesn't like me, but there's something in my defense
that
trigger his defense. And then his defense trigger my defense. and then we can hate each other.
Then we call this life.
But then I start to learn that. And you know what? And read that. And then I met him in a different way. And, we end up being friends. In many ways, I always tell people when you learn bodynamic, you're going to be a way more rich person in connection with many, many people.
We used to say, learn to deal with the person behind their defense mechanism. They are not their defenses. So this is very useful information.
That's so beautiful. And I'm curious if this is what it looks like when our defenses are just triggering each other.
Yeah.
What does it look like when we learn to work and relate with the person behind the defense mechanism, and how can we get to nurture maybe each other, maybe a bit more than understand? And I'm going back to this mutual connection. I'm curious, from your practical experience, how do you see it feeling or looking in people's bodies?
Well, it depends on the context. This example that I gave you, so let's say this person in her childhood, the mother was very overprotected. It was a very stressed mother, and the baby didn't learn to manage their emotions. So he became a grown-up very empty. So every time there's an emotional issue, he kind of get empty and he goes away. He's avoidant, what they call avoidant. Is this person that you call and they don't answer? Is this person that ghosts you? So of course, if you are a therapist and he comes to your office asking help, you need to go slow with emotions. You need to teach. You need to be very patient and love this person through the emptiness. We have techniques to teach the person. But if you are married with this person, you are not the therapist of this person. So you can make a huge effort to understand the emptiness. But at some point, you have to say, sorry, you need to find a way to develop this because it's so hard for me to I need you feel your emotions. So you need to to learn that. So I can make an effort, and every day, because we know the defense mechanism, I can see from your body, from your behaviors, from your wording, and if it's good for me, I can meet your style to have some connection. We can call that manipulation if we want. And I used to say manipulation is naive, is innocent. It's like a knife. I have a knife, I can open a bread and make a sandwich, or I can kill you. So knowledge is always a power. But of course, because I know your defense mechanism, it doesn't mean I can be Zen all day and take care of your defense mechanism. I can use, but sometimes I can say, you know what, my friend, sometimes you don't answer me. This hurts me. This activates my defense. I have the impulse to judge you when you do this. I tend to sacrifice myself because you cannot manage. Can you please go to therapy, please? So it can be both ways. So that's why I'm saying Bodynamic is a resource to help you to analyze people. I used to say, if you work with people, if you talk with people, if you have relationships with people, you should have this knowledge because it's a resource.
So basically, if you're people.
No, I don't know. You can be a monk on the mountains and then you don't need to deal. You have to deal with yourself. So we can trigger our defense mechanism very, very well. So Bodynamic can help you also to self-development. You know yourself. And I think it's precious. If you know your defense mechanism, okay, I tend to sacrifice myself. I don't like it, but that's me. This saved me. And I can say to my friend, I'm like this. And, there's some defenses that we match. Perfect match, I'm very noisy and I like someone that gives me space. So I love that person. So we are perfect match. So this is also good. But we cannot go in the world and do therapy to everyone. Actually, I think it's a lack of respect.
For sure.
You didn't ask me to do that, so I will not start to do that. But I can not take personally. This is huge. This person is not talking, not because she don't like me, it's because I'm building emotions and she never learned. So I don't take personal. But at some point, if I want to be with you, you need to meet me in the middle. I make my responsible personal process and you make yours. Of course, they are couples, they are match according to defense mechanism. If you want to know more, go to Foundation.
It also inspired me. I have a little story also from my own life, this with defense and how we meet other people. Like I told you in the other one, my mother is Danish and I'm half Lebanese also. And I use Bodynamic every day. And, there's also a place where I can get really provoked and go in my defense. And, every day get better. Before I get stuck for days. Now I get stuck maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And then I reorient. And sometimes I need a friend to mirror me. The story I would like to share, in 2024, it was just after we had our first conference, what Mar actually was the host. I was a little bit sad those days, and later I went to Thailand. I went to, I think, Asia. I went to teach in Asia, and then later I went to Thailand to take some days off. And my defense was a little activated, and I was also very sad because at that time we had the big war in the Middle East, and right now we have war in Ukraine, we have war in so many places in the world, but now it came a little closer to home. My father is from South Lebanon, and everybody knows what's happening in Palestine and Lebanon and Israel and Syria and so on. And I see every day my family members because they live in South Lebanon, so it is the battleground. So I'm in Thailand with friends and with a beautiful, you have to imagine this beautiful hotel, huh? There's a pool.
Imagine.
You have to imagine. Just beautiful pool. The energy is so unique. You see the islands there, the boats. There's maybe a mojito here. A little nachos and maybe some Thai food. And we are this beautiful group of people. all ages, 50, 20, and we are speaking, they come from all over the world. And we've actually been connecting the last days. Then suddenly, I don't know why I didn't start the conversation with that. It was not me, but I don't remember. But then they start to speak about Palestine, Israel, Lebanon. And then I see a guy I actually have been connecting with. And I know he's from Israel. And probably also been IDF soldier and all that. And I can see he get provoked. I even see how some of his will structure muscle get activated. Some of his opinion. And all this knowledge give me, okay, probably I can see he's coming with something. And there I also stopped myself because, some months before there, I also lost family members. I'm also very triggered, and probably he's also very triggered. So I gathered myself. I even used some of my muscles, like my butt muscle to contain, centering. There's some good muscle here in supporting latissimus dorsis. And then he started to speak. And he started to go in and speak about 7 October, Holocaust, the whole charade. And of course, it's his pain now. And I remember I looked at him because I also have really pain. I just lost family members because of people that I love. And if this was 5 years before, I think I have lost myself. Then, we could have probably a little fight here. And he started to speak and people get a little, what do you call it when they get a little shy? They get discomforted and don't like the talk. And he started really to speak and he come with all his opinion and knowledge. He's right, huh? And then I looked at him and said, listen, Jakob, let's call him Jakob. Listen, you and me, we had a pretty good time the last day. I said, yeah. He said, yeah, that's true. I said, okay. You have told me you're from North Israel. He said, yeah, that's true. Okay. I'm half Danish, but I'm also half Lebanese. My family is from the south. And right now our countries are at war. So in many ways, our families are enemies. Our countries are enemies. And maybe right now you and me are drinking mojitos, having a good time. Maybe our family are killing each other right now. And I said, listen, you and me, we have a decision to make right now in front of the whole group. And they said, what? I said, we can, the next 1-2 hours, we can discuss all kind of history. We can go to the 6 Days War, 1948, whatever. And you can say, this happened to the Israelis and the Jews. And then I can come and say, yeah, but this happened to the Palestinians, the Lebanese, And we're going to have a competition who has the biggest pain and who's the biggest victim. And in the end, we both just going to be sad and angry. And some people are going to like you, some people are going to like me. What's the point here? And if I have to be honest, we all come from the same human race. And he's from the Abraham religion of Judaism. I said, listen, we're all from Adam and Eve. Let's try something different. Could we maybe agree that my family probably traumatized your family, and your family probably traumatized my family? And we both have kids. And I want something better for my kids. How can we find a way to each other? Maybe we can recognize we're both in pain. And we're both probably very, very scared. And it was for me, and I also get very touched by that. It was a beautiful, because this I could not do 4 or 5 years ago. And for me, it was a beautiful moment that I could stay on mine and actually see his pain. And so we come from the same human family. How can we find a way and stop discussing who's the biggest victim, who have the biggest pain? I told him, I wanted something better for our kids. So, and it was a beautiful moment. We were really hugging. But the reason I could read his body. I saw his defense. And there I got empathy.
Without giving up your own.
That was before he spoke.
Dignity.
It was before he spoke. And then maybe if I didn't know that and he started to speak, I would get surprised. And then, whoa, I go to my defense. But his body told me already what was coming. That gave me the pause to center myself. I knew the tools, and then I could meet him, and we had such a beautiful moment. I said, there's also a lot between us. He's a good man. And I really hope, especially when you see how the world is right now, everybody is afraid. Huh? I think it was... maybe you don't know this guy, Henry Wallace. He was one of the vice president of Roosevelt under the Second World War. And he said something very, very true. He said the mistake, or most of the mistake of all of us, is fear. Out of fear, great nation have been acting like cornered beasts, only think about survival. And I think those words are so wise. And it's something we have to think about today. When we are getting so scared, we only think about survival. We need to reorient ourselves, grab a person we know that can support us. So we find many, many other ways. And with there, we need our body. You cannot only do that with your mind. Body, mind, and spirit together.
I really, really love this idea that when we feel this type of fear, it might feel like a survival moment. It might feel like a life or death moment. So this type of anchor could be something that would bring us back to a more conscious space where we can actually choose. Thank you so much for the story, Hadi.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to go towards the end of our episode, and I'll have a few maybe practical questions in the sense of things we could do in our daily lives, provided that we haven't gone to foundation yet, and maybe we won't get there because I believe you don't have space for everyone, right?
We're growing a lot, as we have right now. We're in 22 countries, and we have many good teachers. Now you're very lucky. It's one of the best you have here in the studio over here.
Thank you. Yeah, but
I mean,
I understand
in
your
my
question.
opinion.
Assuming, of course, not everyone's gonna get there. So the first question is, if say one of our listeners never visits a bodynamic therapist or never goes to a course, what can they do on their own on the most ordinary morning to bring this type of wisdom and practice into their life?
Okay. First of all, to know that we cannot generalize is very individual. From what I said, different muscles with different responses, so it makes us unique. So what works for you doesn't work for me. That's why we don't like to generalize things. One of the first things I can recommend is you start to build what we call your observer self towards your body. So you can start to sit with yourself and investigate what I feel in my body when this is happening. That's interesting. And when we talk about feeling in the body, then we go to very broad dictionary. Some people say, I feel lighter, I feel relaxed, I feel many words, but we would like to invite you to think about what I feel physically. And even see in which area of your body. It could be the gluteus, it could be the abdominal, it could be the diaphragm. It could here I feel something tension. Here masseter is very often, and you start to do have a relationship with yourself through that language. This is I highly recommend. And sometimes naturally, the person finds a way to relax this muscle or to give some support to this muscle. So this will be already huge. Then we have some exercises that we recommend. They are, good for muscles. They are tense or collapse. When you have a tendency to have muscles tense, ironically, you look for activities that reinforce this tension. Or you go to the gym, lifting some weights, because it makes
it feels good.
It makes your muscle being met. It's comfortable. It's how you say the word, is natural. You are used to,
accustomed to it. Yeah.
So is good. You have that. That's why some people say, "Oh, I cannot live without my yoga, or I cannot live with my sport," because this is not only the flight, fight, freeze, sympathetic discharge. Is also your muscle is met. You feel home. And on the other hand, those who are collapsed, they like activities more stretching. This is really not the best for us, especially people who have muscles they are loose. We highly don't recommend to stretch them more because it will make you feel in the beginning comfortable because it's familiar, but in the end you will have some consequences. You can get emotional in the day after, you can be down and you don't know why. So this is, first of all, my first recommendation. You try to go out of your comfort zone, lift some weights, because the muscles, they are so important for the mental health. It's proved even that for elders, they need to do some muscle work, and they take protein, because with the lack of muscles, you start to degenerate your mind. So the muscles, they have a lot of information for our mind, so they are huge, important. And then we can have some exercise that we were sharing. Maybe you can suggest some exercise. They are very good for every kind of muscle. So if you do it, whatever is to collapse or to tense, these exercises can give you some opening. Or if you feel worse, then you have some red flag. Okay, when I do this exercise and I feel worse, you put it on your notebook and then you bring it to us. Then you have to do foundation for us to explain.
Yeah, but that's one of the reasons I also like this method. People always like to ask me in the training, Hadi, can you give an exercise, or Mark, you give an exercise for fear? And I'm like, no. And they say, like, why not? It's not bodynamic with all that. I said, that's true. But why are you afraid? Is it lack of your centering? Is it lack of your boundaries?
Mind your business.
Yeah. If you understand, say, it's a lack of your self-esteem. So it's also, and then I start to investigate. I start to ask them. And when I start to get that knowledge and read the body, then I customize an exercise for them there. And that's why it never ever get boring. Then I made a book. I didn't make those exercises. They was made in Bodynamic, but people was asking for books for the exercise. I made one. And in that book, people's like, oh, nice. There's 15 exercises there. I can just do them alone. And I say, yeah, you can do them alone, and they're going to be very good for you. But you have to remember, again, mutual connection and dignity. Mutual. When we get a trauma,
it will not change you.
It's
help you.
It's in connection. So I always tell, when you do the exercise alone, it will work 30, 40%. But when you do it in connection with another person, it's there you get the 90, 100%. And in that way, we need each other. We are interdependency there.
We even say crying alone doesn't count.
Doesn't count crying alone. It's crying together.
We have some exercises. We have some exercises that are very useful. One of them is to do the cross movement. Is when you lift the leg and you try to meet the elbow. It makes your muscles psoas. There is a muscle inside of your core that is supporting very central areas on your nervous system that really help you to feel yourself. What we say center. You feel yourself. I'm start from here. I used to say is my cell phone. So when I feel something, I call to myself and say, Mar, what you are feeling? And hopefully the cell phone has some battery and it can, because if it's turned off, it's collapse. If it's with all the apps open, it's overstimulated. So this exercise, you can do seated and you can do standing. You do some cross movement. You oblige your psoas to work. So you lift your leg, and this makes you to wake up this and say, center yourself. This is very huge. Another exercise we recommend, I love it, that's my favorite one, is when you put together your shoulder blades. The shoulder blades is when you learn between 2 and 5 different roles. So you learn that you are a girl, you learn that you are a daughter, you learn that you are a sister, you learn that in grandmother's house you can have some chocolate, in mother's house you cannot. In the kindergarten you need to behave, but in auntie's house you can go to the couch, but in mama's house you cannot. So it's different roles. And most of us, we are in the role. Today I'm here as a teacher. And soon I go to dinner with Florentina and Hadi as a friend. And then I call to my daughter as a mother. Then I call to my husband and as a wife. So I'm not different, but I'm not showing all my elements in the roles. And this exercise, it reminds you to not go out of your role. And this is important. Okay. When you are here, what is my role? Is to do an interview. Of course, I need to be a little bit straight and behave, and we use this muscle. But when I go home, I show a facade that not everyone knows. And this is very good muscle to go to your role, because sometimes it takes so personal. And sometimes people get upset with me as a teacher because I represent authority. And they are so mean to me. And they expect so much from me because I'm representing a teacher. And in Romania, you know how hard it is. So sometimes I need to kind of negotiate a lot, because if I take personal, start the game. I project on the students, then the students project on me, and it is a roller coaster. So this putting your shoulder blades together is very nice one.
And I have some more exercise. One thing you can do that I also do to center myself, in the butt, we have a lot of centering muscle.
Yeah, the gluteus, yeah.
It's basically you tight one butt, and then you go to the other one and tight. And you do this a couple of times. Another one I really, really like is latissimus dorsi. Like it's a support muscle. And I always like to say, when I've been in war areas working, it's a way of you putting your hands behind here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And something that's greater than me is there supporting me. You can go to God's hands.
Yeah, it's just not kidneys. It's just a Beckett muscle.
Yeah.
We call the God's hand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, those babuskas there, they like to walk like this also, when they're talking.
Yeah, fair point.
There is some knowledge there, they know, There is some knowledge there. So,
so I would like to investigate after if some people practice can write in your chat on YouTube if they try and they see something.
That's such a good idea. If you practice any of the exercises, exactly.
Let us know what you felt.
And we have a lot of exercise also on YouTube, actually.
Okay. Which brings me to the last question, which is perfectly administrative, which is if people want to work with you, where can they find content, or where can they find the courses? Where can they find you as practitioners with whom they can work one-to-one?
Now my defense mechanism came.
You know what? Ladies first, I will come after.
I start to, my defense mechanism, sacrifice, it came now. Oh my God. So right now I'm teaching a lot. And it started to be very complicated to do private clinic. My list was so long and I was not the best mother therapist because I was not there. I was coming to teach. So now I'm not so much doing sessions, private sessions. I do once in a while to students, is a little bit more supervision or sessions to teach inside of the school. And for instance, I came these 2 weeks to teach and I saved some days to do some sessions, but these sessions in a specific context. If the person wants to taste the method, I send a newsletter and people sign in. And I think the last time was 3 minutes was booked. So unfortunately, that's so far. But in the website, we have a list of therapists available right now. And of course, I'm teaching more in many countries. And then I will probably have more online options in the future to teach. But right now, what I was feeling in my private office was a lot of clients were asking recommendations for therapists to do what I do, and I was suffering. And I was not having anyone to recommend in Portugal. And then I start to think, okay, maybe I should be focused in teaching this to my colleagues, and then I will have more people, because people really like this way, because they are so with antibodies with cognitive, and now with ChatGPT, they need go a little bit outside of the box. And this is really a new way to meet you. And because it's not known, you don't have so much antibodies. So I have a lot of clients, they are psychologists, clinical psychologists, my colleagues, because they are already using their own methods, so it doesn't work with them. So unfortunately, I'm not having sessions right now. I love it. I just have these ones, but on the website, you have my contact there on the Bodynamic website. I also have my school in Portugal that I do trainings there in English, in Portuguese. But that's so far my...
Yeah, and that was my associate, she's the coordinator of Somatic Experience in Portugal and Bodynamic.
Yeah, and Bodynamic in Portugal and Spain. Yeah, very busy person.
Yeah, and I like you said this with ChatGPT, because, that's the good thing with therapy, yeah? A lot of people are afraid to lose their job. But, great therapy, beside a great method, I think 70% of good therapy is the connection and dignity you can bring in. And with your body and mind. And ChatGPT will never have a body and it cannot do connection.
We will know.
I don't believe that.
I will not risk. But so far, body therapy will be hard to replace.
Very, very,
at least until I die.
But either way, people can go on bodynamic.com where there's therapy list, there's different training, e-learning. training in person around the world, and we also have some online trainings. And then if you want to visit, we're on Instagram, Facebook, Bodynamic International.
Here in Romania, we will start a new foundation next year in person. I highly recommend here. We have translation, consecutive translation, so you have Romania, although I understand Romania a little bit because it looks like Italian and Portuguese.
Yeah, I have noticed that when we've been training, because we have a translator, and then she's like answering the students before the translation comes. Like, look at Mar, do you understand?
And of course, with COVID, we learned to teach this through online, but it is antagonic to teach this online. You need to be there to feel it and to experiment. We have role plays, we have demos, and we will have a foundation here with Florentina open in next year. And we have other trainings, shock trauma training, that we are
a lot of things going to happen here in Romania, for sure.
And some small workshops for those who don't have so much time, because now we fight a lot with time, but we will offer here in Bucharest some options. And I have many countries, but Bucharest is in top of the list. Romania is in top of the list because I really love to teach here. My God, you are amazing students. Okay, I didn't teach all over the world, but I teach many countries. And
they are very, very unique, guys. Very unique students.
Sorry, guys. I have favorites, and I have to say Romania have favorites because the way you are, you don't have time to waste, and I appreciate that. Life is so precious that you are focused, you do the job, you are kind, you are polite, you are hardworking. I'm in love with with Romania.
Yeah, I'm starting getting. It was my first training this week.
I told him, but he needs to see with his own eyes.
I know her for so many years, and I'm always a little suspicious. Does he say the truth?
He has a defense mechanism.
I really have. But I have to say, what he said was totally honest. It's true. It's true, and I'm really happy it's true. By the way,
Romania is precious. So, I really love Romanian people.
Thank you so much, guys.
You're welcome.
And thank you so much for having us, the whole team also.
Yes, thank you.
It was, as you can see behind the cameras, they're really excited about it. Of course.
So, what's one thing that you think it's important for us as humans to take care of our body? If it's the main thing that, I don't know, you would say to someone in taking care of their bodies for a healthy mind health, let's say.
I think I said you need to have conscious of your body, have a relationship with your body.
Develop a strong body ego.
We call body ego, or body. It's like it's not a stranger. Your body is not your enemy; it's your partner. So sometimes we don't talk. You sleep together, but you don't talk. You are so what? Like what? Tell me what?
Speak to your body.
What is going on? But sometimes there's some people they need to go down and not take so serious what the body says. Like I use some clients they need to relax. Not what your body feels is the truth. It's just your body overreacting. In some other cases, it's the opposite. Come on, listen to your body. Don't go so much on the mind. So I think to have a very good neighborhood, good relationship, and start to ask questions.
And you have to remember a strong body ego. Then you have the ingredients for a strong observant ego. And especially when you work with trauma, for example, the body ego is the last thing that disappear before you go to the me. So your stronger body ego we can have.
They don't know what that means, it's but like anyway.
But when you get, for example, just overwhelmed or you get something that's very shocking, your stronger body ego, longer you can stay in this connection.
Yeah.
It helped me with this guy in Thailand, this Sri guy, because of that. So I could stay in connection.
It could be so simple. When I'm in this situation, it hurts my belly. Why? All the time I feel this, or I feel red in my skin. So this, if I can recommend, is a way of language that we should be good at. Actually, the kids, they are very good when they feel scared or something. They say, "Mommy, it hurts my belly. Mommy, I feel tension here. Mommy's ring is itchy." So the kids, they have that, but with age, we start to kind of let it go. On the other hand, to be hypochondriac is also not good. So we need to have a good connection with the body.
Well, what you're saying, Ma, is so important. As one thing I remember from my childhood that I do with my kids is when they are happy or they are sad. Also, when they come home from school, I ask my son, he's almost 5 or for kindergarten, like, how was day? He said it was good. And I say, why was it good? And how does it sense in the body?
Mm-hmm.
And then he say, I felt strong. So what do you feel strong? I say, I felt strong here. Oh, very good. I say, I felt happy. I said, what else? I also felt happy. So where? I say, here. So also you train this.
Yeah.
Train your kids.
Of course, after a while, if they see daddy once I answer something, yeah.
That's
I
true.
will answer what he wants to
I also
hear.
didn't like it in the beginning, but I started really to like it because it was such a gift.
We need to go slow because sometimes it's invasive, So how do you feel in your body? Okay, mind your business.
And now daddy is stupid again. Huh?
They start to understand, okay, I'm going to answer something. Yeah, I feel in my body. Oh, good. Yeah. Shut up, But if I have to recommend is to have a good connection with your body. And if you don't know what it means, call us and we'll let you know.
That with the neighbor.
Have a good neighbor.
You sleep with your body every day. You need to have a good, give a kiss sometimes. Talk with him.
For sure.
Listen what he has to say.
And remember, when you learn new stuff in life, it's not like you learn it from the mind to the body. You learn and grasp the knowledge through the body, through the muscle, the nervous system, to the mind.
Yeah, it's all together.
But that's how we learn it.
Yeah.
Not from here
We
to here.
We start
learn it from
concrete.
here.
We start to learn concrete. The child, first, he knows this cup with the body, with the smell, with 5 senses. Then he start to give a name,
Concept
cup. Then he start to understand what is the cup. It's for tea. Then he start to think, okay, caipirinha is also possible. Many
We want that next time, some covering.
Many layers of knowledge, but when it comes to new knowledge, although we are 50 and I graduated, we need to start with the basic. Feel this with your body. Then we give cup. I struggle with my students because they are high level and they want to go to caipirinha right now. And I say, let's first make this.
We go to Caipirinha next year.
It depends on the speed of the student.
It's better in the winter time to go to Caribbean.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was so nice. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here with us today. This conversation was possible with the help of Florentina Niculescu, our partner for this episode and the person who made the presence of Hadi and Mar possible in our studio today. Florentina is a clinical psychologist and psychotherapist specialized in working with victims of abuse, relationships, with a focus on developmental trauma, domestic violence, and sexual abuse. An essential part of her work is grounded in somatic experiencing, of which she has been the official representative in Romania since 2017.
Acesta este un material gratuit prin care echipa Mind Architect contribuie la dezvoltarea personală și la cunoașterea de sine fundamentate în știință. Dacă vrei să aprofundezi subiectul pe care tocmai l-ai ascultat, devină și tu membru Mind Architect Premium, unde ai acces la peste 130 de materiale audio-video, rezumate infografice și recomandări de resurse. În plus, și poate cel mai important, întâlnirile MA Live, unde poți intra în direct cu echipa noastră pe teme care te interesează. Și acces la grupul de Facebook privat, unde ținem aproape de comunitatea abonaților. Iar dacă vrei să înveți în ritmul tău, te așteptăm pe mindarchitect.ro în secțiunea Online Academy, unde te așteaptă cursuri certificate, cu informație clar organizată, cu suport vizual excelent, teste și studii de caz. Poți asculta în continuare gratuit episoadele de podcast Mind Architect pe rețelele de podcasting precum Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube și pe mindarchitect.ro. Iar dacă ți-a plăcut acest episod și crezi că i-ar face viața mai bună cuiva cunoscut, ne-am bucurat tare să ne ajuți cu un share. Conținutul Mind Architect nu este destinat și nici nu trebuie interpretat ca fiind utilizabil pentru a diagnostica, trata, atenua, vindeca, preveni sau un alt mod a fi utilizat pentru orice boală sau condiție medicală. Nu reprezintă substitut pentru consultație psihologică sau pentru muncă terapeutică.